Welcome back to coverage of the Neon Dynasty Championship, everybody. Ailey Looney alongside Mani Davudi, and we are jumping into game number 2 here between Thoralf Severin and Matt Sperling. Now, Thoralf picked up the first game in a lengthy battle between these two players, so Sperling is now on the play and taking a look here at the opening hand. Having to mulligan already. Let's see if this one's worth the keep.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this hand. Does have one of the most important elements of this Selesnya ramp deck, which is having the 2-mana ramp spell. So having the Tangled Florahedron there definitely fulfills that condition. Does have the 4th untapped land, or 3rd untapped land here in Emeria's Call if needed. So able to play that turn 3/4 drop, but you don't really like mulliganing in the situation against what is sort of a control combo deck.
I know that a couple of us had a 2-mana Magma Opus on our bingo card for this weekend, so let's hope that Thoralf Severin can deliver here for us.
Yeah, coming into this tournament, Chris Botello has been saying some bold things on Twitter about this Jeskai Hinata deck, how it was overwhelmingly the best deck in their testing, and he expected it to be 20% of the field. How he agonized over sideboard choices because he wasn't sure how much to bring for the mirror. And then it was only really his team that brought it. But so far, Thoralf starting off with a win on this Jeskai Hinata deck, and good start to the tournament. And maybe this Hinata deck is where it's at.
Well, time will tell as the day progresses. Nice draw there for Matt Sperling as he finds the Skyclave Apparition. Is going to get the wedding announcement down. Now, this is another really cool card from the Innistrad block that just gains you some extra value as things go along. Gets you cards, gets you creatures, and then eventually buffs your entire team. So, not a bad start here for Sperling.
Really good card, excellent card against control decks like the one that Thoralf is bringing. Now, at some point, the Hinata deck is able to go over top of this using the Magma Opus and the Hinata combo, but Thoralf is a ways away from that right now. He's only on 2 mana, might need to use this Cathartic Pyre to just loot here and try to fix his draw a bit, because if he starts missing land drops, this game is going to end very quickly.
Yeah. The other option would be Magma Opus, discarding that to create a treasure token, but you really don't want to do that, so Cathartic Pyre is the go-to. Galvanic Iteration and Fateful Absence hit the bin, and there we go, 2 lands off the top there for Severin, with an unexpected windfall to boot.
Yeah, now we're really cooking with that 3rd land. Thoralf is picking speed up again. Forsaken Crossroads can come into play untapped this game, considering Thoralf was on the draw. So that is the 2nd red source and 4th land for Windfall next turn, which means Thoralf is able to leave up Divide by Zero or Disdainful Stroke for this turn, because Matt's deck really wants to start casting 4-drops at this point.
It sure does, and that's a really good 4-drop that he just drew in the Felidar Retreat. So, curious to see how he navigates this turn. If this Divide by Zero is just going to take care of a creature now. Yep, wants to prevent the card draw with the 2 creatures attacking. So, Tangled Florahedron is at the mercy of a Divide by Zero. Is it time to get Wandering Emperor in now while shielded down?
Well, Matt has some options here because he could play the Wandering Emperor now, but he also has Emeria's Call for Felidar Retreat if he valued getting that on the board. In both cases, he gets to make use of this turn, so it's really about which he values more in this spot.
So the Divide by Zero will take care of the Florahedron. Environmental Sciences, fetched from the sideboard. And just the 1 attacker in, so we'll create another creature here with the wedding announcement, and the Tangled Florahedron may just come back as Tangled Veil for Sperling.
Yeah, the rebalanced Divide by Zero, only learning if the mana value of the spell was 4 or less. So certainly still useful in the spot to get that early learn. Environmental Sciences, maybe try to smooth out this draw a bit for the future turns. But for Thoralf, he's entering the territory where he really needs to find Hinata, and he needs to find Hinata soon.
Fateful Absence was the draw here for Severin, so would be able to get rid of the Wandering Emperor. As a clean answer there for the Planeswalker. Let's see how he navigates this turn.
Couple of options. He could go Fateful Absence, leave up Disdainful Stroke for a secondary 4-drop, or he could just go Environmental Sciences and Fateful Absence and just say, hey, I'm not in a position where I can leave up this counter mana. I need to hit my land drops. I think leaving up the counter spell is a little safer, but it's the type of situation where you're falling behind and you recognize it
Yeah.
because this wedding announcement is going to flip pretty shortly.
Yep. Snowballing here for Sperling. He's just grabbing the advantage with both hands and running with it. And that's exactly what he needs to do. He's game down. So apply pressure, keep it going. Is he tempted to try and run out this Felidar retreat and play an Amelia's Call as a land and just buff the team and go?
Matt is aware of Disdainful Stroke as a potential option. So he may be in a position where he goes, I don't have to play into this. I have a clue token I can crack. I can just develop my mana. It's possible that Matt could have just activated Lair of the Hydra and gotten in for some extra damage there if he didn't want to draw the card here.
The Maria's Call comes in. Untap Felidar retreat on the stack. And Thoralf Severin is going to Disdainful Stroke that. So away that powerful enchantment goes, but still has another one on the battlefield to deal with. And it's flipped.
Yeah, huge draw for Thoralf. It may look awkward for Matt to play a land paying 3 life before playing Felidar Retreat, but with Jawari Disruption available for the Jeskai Hinata deck, you really don't want to walk into that particular counterspell. So it makes sense why Matt does play this the way he does, but it ends up working out for him regardless because Thoralf is forced to play out the Hinata, and that does not work out well against Skyclave Apparition.
No, not at all. No counterspell available. No blockers available now either, as 3 creatures are going to swing in, taking Thoralf down to 7. Now, what can he do in this situation? No Hinata to get any discounts. No coupons for Thoralf this turn. And there's a Storm of the Festival just to add some, I don't know, insult to injury, some salt in the wounds. Let's see what Sperling does to end this game.
Yeah, this is a pretty awkward scenario now for Thoralf, as he's the 7 and currently no real interaction in hand, so may just need to go with something like an unexpected windfall to try to find an answer, but you're not looking that good in this game.
It's gonna have to be, I don't even know what keeps him alive at this point. There's just too much power on this battlefield, so Sperling just measuring the play, deciding, is it a Lair of the Hydra going to get in there with it? Does he go for the Storm of the Festival? I mean, I'm in favor of overkill, just putting it out there.
Yeah, I think this is Matt just double, triple, quadruple checking Thoralf's list, making sure, do you have anything that keeps you alive if I just make this Lair of the Hydra a creature? And I believe the answer is no. I'm looking at Thoralf's list, and the only thing that could have maybe kept him alive was 2 copies of Divine Purge in the sideboard, but that's sorcery speed, and the fact that Thoralf didn't draw for it on his turn makes me think it wasn't boarded in.
All out swing here now for Sperling.
Looking at, if I remove this apparition, I get a 4/4. I block this 5/5. I'm still taking 9. Okay. Not ideal, right? All right, back to the drawing board. Now what can we do? And, there isn't much, so let's just take it.
Yeah. Just
go to game
take
3.
-10. This is totally fine. So game 3, much quicker game 2 there in this matchup between these two players. Let's take a look at the sideboard and see what's come in, what's gone out, and what decisions Thoralf makes to try and pick up the victory here against Sperling.
All right. You see, the Divine Purges didn't come in last game, but Thoralf looking at them again, looking at the battlefield, and try to judge this board state. Do I need these Divine Purges to survive? He is on the play this game. It will certainly make a difference in terms of how the plays line up, what turns he can interact. But as we saw that game, Thoralf wasn't really doing much.
Yeah, and also got a little stuck on the lands there too, so didn't really have, the opportunity to multi-spell as he would have preferred to, especially with Hinata down and things being a lot cheaper then.
Yeah, we see the test of talents being boarded out. Not really a card you think of that is normally great against ramp. We do see those copies of Storm the Festival, so certainly a card that you do want to take as it can give you a lot of problems. But considering your opponent can put on this creature pressure before you ever get to that point of the game, maybe not a luxury you can afford.
So, Mani, with these two decks, they're very much outliers in terms of what we expected this weekend. Who do you think's got the build that'll be more successful this weekend, just based on what we've seen so far?
It's really hard for me to say because the Selesnya ramp deck caught me off guard for sure. I was
Mm-hmm.
looking at Hinata list as a possibility, and I would guess that certainly if they chose to bring it, they do believe that they have a great runes matchup. But I wasn't a big believer in Hinata coming into the weekend, despite really wanting to see it. So I'm going to go with the unknown factor for myself and pick the ramp deck.
Well, speaking of, Matt Sperling's opening hand pretty darn good as we see 3 lands, now 4 in hand, plus Azuz's many journeys. So he'll be able to get the ramp going very, very quickly and possibly get ahead of Thoralf Severin's counterspell game plan.
Yeah, and Torolf stuck on 2 lands again. This
We
time, the only real way out of it is discarding that Magma Opus for a treasure token. But even then, he's going to be significantly behind. So this next draw step is massive for Torolf to decide whether he has a game or not.
Okay, it's a land. It's a land. He's got reactive permission up. Should be okay. Fingers crossed if you are a Thoralf Severin fan, everyone.
Should be okay. There's a lot of emphasis on that should. Thorolf definitely not happy with the current position of the game. Will be able to syncopate this Arcana of Emeria for 2 and keep it off the battlefield if necessary. But it's still kind of tough here for Thorolf.
Yeah, Archon of Emeria is certainly a very highly played card this weekend based on the popularity of Ruins, so you gotta respect it. You don't want your lands coming in tapped, and you don't want this on the battlefield. Syncopate will take care of that. And there is land number 4 for Torolf,
Tapped.
but it doesn't untap, unfortunately.
This game, Torolf was on the play, so not an untapped source does get a scry, but will be forced to just pass the turn again here. And that is not ideal when Matt can just play another Archon of Emeria if he so chooses. Continue playing around Disdainful Stroke, and Thorolf's hand isn't lining up well right now.
No, not at all. Felidar treat. He's gonna go for it here. Risk it for the biscuit. If it's a disdainful stroke, nothing he can do about it anyway, so
That's a big break for Torolf.
yeah. Torolf dodged a cat-shaped bullet there in Felidar Retreat. And there's a Drawer Disruption. They get progressively worse. Might see it cost as a land here just to keep the land drops coming.
Yeah, Torolf now has an interesting situation. Last game, he played the Hinata, ran face first into a Skyclave apparition. Game didn't end up going so well. So maybe this game, he's going to play the Windfall first, and then play the Hinata when he has the opportunity to cast the Magma Opus as well. If that's the game plan, I wouldn't actually be surprised to see the Windfall cast at sorcery speed there, just so Thorolf has more information on what land he wants to play.
Just pass the turn back here. Is not going to fire off that Hinata. Just hang it back. Likely we'll see that unexpected windfall on the end step. And Azusa's many journeys. She's journeying all over the place today. It's going to allow Matt Sperling to continue this ramp game plan he's got going.
Yeah, one of the cooler ramp spells to come out of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, being able to turn into a creature extremely relevant, as that is where the dynamic game plan from the Selesnya ramp deck comes from, is being able to make sure that all of your cards sort of do 2 things in a lot of situations.
Yeah, but now we're seeing I don't want to call it the weakness of the deck. Like, sure, Sparley's got a bunch of lands and stuff on the board, but look at the hand disparity between these two players. Thoralf Severin has a bunch of stuff. And we might get to cross this off our bingo list, friend. Because there's a Hinata, there's lands and treasures. I mean,
I
could be time.
I think it is more likely that Thoralf will want to pay a bit more mana for this Magma Opus just to be able to clear off one of these problem creatures. I would guess Archon here by paying the 4 mana for Magma Opus and tap some lands down. Especially if you tap 2 white lands here, you actually put yourself in a position where Matt Sperling will need exactly untapped white source plus Skyclave Apparitions, the 2 cards he has available to him, in order to be able to clear off this Hinata. And if not, you've got another Magma Opus in the wings, as well as Galvanic Iterations.
Oh, you get rid of one, another one pops up in its place. It's like a snake. Ooh, Hall of the Storm Giants. That's a nice way to end a game for Thoralf Severin. But yeah, very, very smart play there, making sure that that Skyclave Apparition in hand can't be cast.
Archon, it's fine. It almost feels like a bit of a delay tactic here. What it really does is Matt isn't dead immediately. Because if Thoralf was able to Galvanic Iteration and Magma Opus this turn, I don't think there's any coming back for this ramp deck. So Matt, not dead, but still there's another Magma Opus waiting there. So he's not feeling particularly good right now.
I would love to see that, but Archon is causing problems in the Galvanic Iteration Magma Opus department, so...
Let's do it again.
Yeah, why not? Just keep those white lands tapped, kill this Archon, have all the fun.
Yeah, this time you have the mana, so you're ready to concede. Is that an Opus? I'm out of here. Yeah, that's an Opus.
Thoralf Severin locking Matt Sperling out of that game and picks up the victory. Jeskai Hinata doing stuff and things, Monty.